Argyle are on their travels again, this time a relatively short distance up to Bristol City, a side that we've had a few battles with in the past.
Lovely turn from Hodges. What a goal! What a superb goal
Good evening, I am Erin Black and this is the pre-match show on Argyle TV, brought to you by HBH Woolacotts. As the Greens are on the road once again looking for their first away win of the season, hoping to get that win against Bristol City this evening. Joining me to talk through everything ahead of kick-off at Ashton Gate is former Argyle striker Ian Stonebridge. Ian, seeing one of your specials in that montage there?
Yeah, I didn't get to take many penalties, so I think Paul Watton probably wasn't on the pitch that night, so I was actually allowed to take it. So yeah, a rarity there.
But, you know, pretty
well,
good.
It was okay, wasn't it? It went in.
Yeah, result. I was saying, your celebration is so modest. I'd have been running around.
Yeah, I can't remember. Might not have been the most important game in the world, but, you know, goal at home park, they're all important.
Yeah, correct answer, Ian. This is their shortest journey of the season, Argyle. Do you think that's going to make a little bit of a difference, not having to travel so much, especially seeing as we had a game on Saturday as well?
Yeah, it is a rarity, and to kind of think about Bristol as being almost a local derby this season is
It's bizarre to say,
is strange. But yeah, the fact they can go up on the day, the fact that the preparation for the pre-match is slightly different, you know, avoiding that overnight stay, I'm sure will kind of be beneficial. And I think, you know, we'll see in terms of the team that Stephen Schumacher has picked tonight, how much he's decided to freshen it up from Saturday's game, because obviously it was a long trip.
Yeah, and it should be quite a big game for travelling fans as well, because obviously the distance is shorter, potential for a lot more people to attend.
There are, although it doesn't seem to make too much of a difference, does it, with the Green
right.
Army, you know. But yeah, it's nice for them to get to go to Bristol City and to, you know, support the Greens up there. And yeah, slightly shorter journey, slightly earlier home time for the fans as well, which is great.
Yeah, and we saw Argyle, of course, playing away at Preston on Saturday, losing 2-1. It felt like a game of very fine margins, really. A lot of people, myself included, didn't really feel like Argyle deserved to lose in that one. They'll be wanting to come off the back of that and, I mean, you know, arguably play as well as they did, but deliver this time. You know, what mentality do you think that's going to bring us tonight?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, we'll hear the manager speak again ahead of tonight's game, and his post-match comments at the weekend. There's not a great deal wrong with the performance. I think they're really pleased with the amount of possession they had, the chances they created. But I think as we'll see across this season, and as we have seen so far in this league, it's the action that happens in both boxes and how clinical and incisive teams are, that is really a huge difference. And unfortunately, at the moment, Argyle on the wrong end of that a couple of times.
Yeah, well, tonight's the night. Hopefully, they are chasing, as we mentioned on Saturday as well. If Argyle win tonight, this will be their first away win of the season. So, lots to look forward to if it comes off. And 3,000 Argyle fans will be up in Bristol tonight. And if you aren't one of them and you're watching us here on Argyle TV, then you can watch the entire game after the pre-match show over on pafc.co.uk. So just head over there for all of the streaming details. And then afterwards, before the game, we're going to be going through everything here, pre-match show, including interviews with Joe Edwards and Stephen Schumacher. But let's start off with talking through the team news. There's quite a lot of changes tonight, Ian. We weren't necessarily expecting that, were we? We will start with Argyle in a minute. Do you think... I mean, we've always spoken about the breadth of the squad that Stephen Schumacher has. Do you think, he's able to utilise that to advantage when you're playing games, Saturday to Tuesday like this?
Yeah, he is, and it's the right time to make use of it. I think the comments that I think he's made since the weekend, he wanted to keep his cards close to his chest in terms of who was going to be fresh, who was feeling okay from the weekend, and rightly so. He said there's no real problems, but yet we've seen in the lineup that's been chosen, there's plenty of changes there. Whether that's related to kind of fitness data and how well they've recovered from the game on Saturday, or whether it's something more, from a tactical perspective that the management team have looked to change. We'll perhaps see that as the game goes on in terms of the way that he uses that subs bench, which has obviously got an array of talent on it.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it on your screens now. Your starting lineup for Argyle tonight: Hazard, Scar, Gibson, Kessler, Hayden, Edwards, C. Wright, Warrington, Randall, Cundall, T. Wright and Wayne. And then on the bench, as Ian mentioned, you got Burton, Gillespie, Mumba, Houghton, Butcher, Azaz, Hardy, Whittaker, and last but not least, Mustafa Bundu's on there, which is nice to see.
Yeah, it's great, and there's plenty of chances in there tonight for players who perhaps have not been regular so far this season, or haven't really had the chance to impose themselves on the Championship. So, Lewis Warrington starting in midfield, and Tyreek Wright, Callum Wright behind Ben Wayne. As a forward trio, they'll be looking to make as big an impression on the game as Argyle's forward players have done so far this season. Yeah,
and Ben Wayne's first league start as well. It doesn't feel like it because he's, had a really impressive outing in some of the cup games that we've seen earlier on. Hopefully he'll be able to tally up a few more goals.
Absolutely, he'll be itching to go, and I think from the changes that we have seen, everyone that's coming in should be really, really fresh, and I think that can play into Argyle's hands tonight. It's a new type of problem. Bristol City won't have been able to necessarily anticipate this lineup, so it gives that element of surprise to some extent. And as we said, all of those players that have been given that chance tonight will be really keen to make that impression on the manager and get a positive result.
Yeah, I mean, I think it probably shows the trust that Stephen Schumacher has in his team as well, that he can make such a large amount of changes. Like 7 is quite a comprehensive selection of changes, and feel confident, putting that team out, especially when you're coming off the back of a loss, because he's put that team out knowing that they can win tonight.
Yeah, and despite not being overly disappointed with what happened at Preston, I think the nature of the system they're playing, everyone will have a really good understanding of their jobs and the different roles that's expected of them. To maintain that team shape, to maintain that same attacking, possession-based philosophy that we've seen from Argyle, and hopefully they'll step into the shoes of those that played on Saturday and maybe even add that extra bit of cutting edge that we were perhaps missing.
Yeah, well, let's see who we're up against then in the form of Bristol City's side tonight. On the screen for you there: O'Leary, Pring, Naismith, Tanner, Viner, James, Williams, Knight, Sykes, Bell and Wells. And then on the bench, Bajic, Dickey, Gardner, Hickman, Roberts, King, Mametti, Cornick, Yeboah and Nelson. Ian, of that lineup, what's standing out to you there? Who are the ones that fans can be watching out for?
Yeah, I think for Argyle fans, obviously Zach Viner, had a successful time on loan here. I thought he was really impressive for Argyle during his time at home park. He was looking quite prominent in terms of the highlights from Bristol City's game last weekend. Strong defender, pacey as well, able to recover in situations. So, he's going to be a a formidable opponent. Hopefully Ben Waine can give him a hard time tonight. Other than that, Sam Bell, dangerous forward. And from Bristol City's perspective, being at home at Ashton Gate, they'll be really looking to put a positive performance on and to, take the 3 points. So quite a bit of pressure on them tonight, I would say.
And I've got here as well, Wells, last season's top scorer for Bristol City. So, great for them that they've got him in their starting lineup because they're without Tommy Conway. How do you think Argyle are going to go into this? Because, we saw them quite aggressive, against Preston. They were really, the amount of opportunities they had on goal was phenomenal. Do you think they're going to be kind of going for a similar attacking style tonight?
Yeah, I think, the overall philosophy I don't think is going to change. We'll still look to play out from the back and keep the ball. It's up to those players that come in, particularly those perhaps in the forward areas, to really make the most of that possession, make things happen when they're in those dangerous forward areas. And that can be the key. And it just really takes, someone to take a chance in front of goal, Ben Waine to show his confidence and to get a finish in. And sometimes the kind of benefits you get from that in terms of the whole team, that confidence that can flow through you is really good. And the first thing they'll be looking to do is to make a better start. Clearly the Preston early goal at the weekend is a real sucker punch right at the start of the game. So, they'll want to keep things tight. And in terms of organisation, stopping crosses going in the box at an early stage, those will be things that they'll be focused on, I'm sure.
And we know Preston, of course, were coming off the back of a, substantial winning streak. Bristol, on the other hand, they drew 0-0 on Saturday at West Brom, despite a lot of chances. So, putting you in slightly better stead when you're coming up against a team that's, not constantly winning. And mentioning Wells as well a moment ago, top scorer last season, only 1 goal to his name so far this season. So it's all very well, it's peaks and troughs, isn't it? Swings and roundabouts. It
is, yeah. I'm not sure, you think with a striker like that who's perhaps proven themselves, one season, you worry that maybe there's the time when they're going to come into form. So hopefully Argyle can keep him quiet again tonight. I just think it's great from Argyle's perspective. They were able to go to Preston, really take the game to them, dominate in terms of possession, show some really good chances created. So, that to me tells them they've got nothing to fear going to Bristol City and hopefully can put on another positive performance. Yeah,
and Mehmeti as well, another name's mentioned. We've seen him before with Wickham. Which is always an interesting game in itself, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. He's a clever, creative player. Hopefully we can make sure that the game's out of sight by the time he gets a chance to come on today. But he'll certainly test the Argyle defence if he does get a chance. Yeah, well, hopefully for all of you watching at home, it will be another exciting game like we saw on Saturday, and hopefully it goes our way this time, because we know it wasn't to be against our former manager Ryan Lowe. Despite an impressive outing from Argyle, it did end in defeat against Preston.
Yeah, of course it is. Everyone they both know each other very, very well. They both came together 2018 for very...
Ball flashed across goal, and Preston, they've taken an early lead out of nowhere. And now Azaz, still plenty of green shirts forward in this attack. Mumba is one of them on the left-hand side, goes beyond his man, looks to try and play it into the middle. Woodman got a big old fist to it, and then it almost drops into the net again. Whittaker, who's not really seen much of it so far, but he does well to get away from Miller. Azaz lets that ball run. He knew Hardy was there. Gets to it before Lindsay. Mumba is in the middle of Hardy. Can find him towards Mumba. It's a great hand from Woodman. He's on the ball now, but he has given it away. Ledson plays it forward towards Ismajic. Now Miller on the left-hand side. Argyle with defending to do. Miller is through. Miller scores! Preston have their second. It crosses a halfway line. He's got Hardy on the left-hand side. He's got Kesler-Hayden on the right. Tries to play it towards Kesler-Hayden. Inside the area. What a save from Woodman. Huge opportunity for Argyle, though. Here come Argyle down the right-hand side. Whittaker then stands up his defender. He's got a man on the overlap, cuts infield. Whittaker goes for goal. Woodman drops it. Will it fall to Azaz? No. Just held up by Story. Plays it infield to Azaz. Whittaker on the right-hand side. Kesler-Hayden goes beyond him. Can he get a pass to him? Whittaker goes for goal. Mumba, that's brilliant. Finds Azaz. Kundal in space on the right-hand side. Here's Ryan Hardy. Inside the area. Hardy scores!
That's a goal.
And Argyle half the deficit. Miller. He'll then look to run at Kesler-Hayden. Boy, this second half is flying by. Miller onto his right foot. Great delivery, Ismajic! What a save that is from Hazard! Oh my goodness me! Clegg with fellow beats Frockyard to it, but it's picked up by Preston North End again. And now Holmes urged forward. He's got Potts free on the right-hand side. Here is Potts, drills it across goal. It's the post. Comes back to him again. The flag is up in there somewhere.
We played really well again. Performance-wise, the lads done everything that we've asked of them. We thought we dominated the game in large parts, controlled the possession and created some brilliant chances. I felt on the balance we were probably the better team, but Preston do what they do. They defended really well. The goalkeeper made some great saves and they were clinical with a couple of their chances that they had. So disappointing to get beat, but I've come away from them again with loads of confidence that we're in these big games and we don't look as though we don't belong here. I don't want to become that team who get there and don't finish anything off. So we just need to get better at the small detail.
What was your take on Saturday's game then, Ian?
Yeah, I think like the manager said there, it was a really positive performance. That early goal was a problem in that it puts Argyle on the back foot, immediately settles Preston down and allows them to kind of sit back and defend like they have been good at.
Yeah.
The possession stat, and we know that possession on its own is not enough to win the match, but it's a positive sign to show that Argyle were in the game and implementing the way that they want to play. As we said, the manager said, that decisiveness in each box. So, the way that Preston took their chances. I think the first goal was unlucky. Yes, we'd like to get more pressure on the ball to stop the cross to start with, but when Hazard tips the ball out, it's a stroke of luck that it goes to one of their players, and it's really hard as defenders to react quick enough to do anything about that. Preston's second goal is again a moment of quality, but Argyle are in comfortable possession at that stage. So maybe there'll be some things for them to think about in terms of not overcommitting and making sure that even when we're in possession, they maintain that shape that allows them to transition quickly and regain that defensive shape to be slightly less open. And that was what Preston were able to capitalise on.
We've seen similar games this season where Argyle seem to be in control of the play, and unfortunately they've walked away with losses where they shouldn't necessarily have done so. And Stephen Schumacher talks about it's disappointing, but there are positives to take away from it. Do you still think it's like an adjustment period coming into the Championship in regards to that?
I think it is, and I think it's also that growing awareness, not something that the players wouldn't have known, not something that the management staff wouldn't have known, but just that step up in quality that means that when you give the ball away, you get punished.
Yeah.
Southampton were severely punished by Leicester on Friday night, trying to play possession-based football and getting caught out. And I think it's that step up in level, the quality of those attacking players really does mean that when you give the ball away in a dangerous area, quite often you're going to be punished for it. And that's perhaps slightly different to League One and League Two where Argyle have come from in recent years.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that people may have noticed is that kind of in the dying minutes of a game when we're getting to the injury time, Argyle have been letting goals in. We didn't see that on Saturday, but it was almost like the complete reverse where it happened before a minute had passed. Do you think there's like a lack of switching off, or in that instance maybe not switching on as sharply as they could be doing? Yeah,
I think it is tricky because different players on the pitch have different jobs at various times, obviously, but that notion of trying to stop that cross really early, it was a fantastic switch of play by the Preston player to start with. So Argyle would have been quite happy they had Preston on one side of the pitch. That switch of play was a fantastic ball, and that changes the picture really quickly. And after that, Kesler Hayden is being run at. Fullbacks all over the all over the country don't like to have players run towards them with the ball, and the player was able to get the cross in, and it's, again, I just think from then on it's just slightly bad luck. Maybe Hazard would want to do slightly better with the cross, but it's palmed out and it's headed in the goal, and I think there's not a great deal you can do about it at that point. Sometimes you have to hold your hands up and say that there's a little bit of luck that's gone against you. So Argyle will look to iron that out and make sure that they get a better start in tonight's game.
Yeah, and touching on Ryan Hardy as well, I mean, he's not starting this evening, but on pretty good form, scored a goal in the last game. What do you think the decision-making process is there?
In terms of leaving him out? I think that maybe he needs that rest.
Okay.
They're off. I'm sure also looking towards Saturday's game and thinking, right, we need to make the most of that and win that home game that's coming up. However, the nature of his threat is something that other teams are going to be taking more notice of. They'll be watching him even more closely than they were. He's shown his finishing ability is second to none. Fantastic the return he's got already this season. Ben Waine coming into the side tonight, he'll be looking to start knocking on the door and show that actually, there's a decision to be made. And even though Ryan Hardy has been scoring, has made an excellent start to the season, Ben Waine will want to put pressure on him and be knocking on the door to start himself. Yeah.
Do you think that's maybe something that Stephen Schumacher's trying to work on, to get almost like these little separate pockets of players that work well together, that he can, like we're not seeing Hardy, we're not seeing Whittaker, and he can replace them kind of like for like this evening? Yeah,
I think building those relationships as forward players is really important. It's, that understanding, knowing what someone is going to do in a certain situation. It doesn't come automatically. They'll spend time on this in training. Getting the chance to do that out on the pitch in a proper match is important. Likewise, Ben Waine, fresh legs tonight. They won't want to necessarily be relying on Ryan Hardy all the time. And again, if something through the season, injuries happen, players aren't always available. So they want to make sure that from a goals perspective, Argyle are not just relying on him.
It's not just up front as well, of course. 7 changes is happening all around the squad. Dan Scarr starting this evening, didn't start on Saturday. I know there are a few people in the comments looking forward to seeing him start this evening, because he's kind of one of the key components, isn't he, in this Argyle squad? Yeah, he's been a fantastic servant for Argyle so far. Was brilliant for us last season. Again, it's fantastic from a squad perspective that we can have him to bring back into the team. From a leadership perspective, fantastic presence at the back, and I think the number of changes throughout the team. He's one who comes in. He knows the squad, knows the characters, knows the system inside out. So fingers crossed that's a seamless transition, and he can also influence the game in a positive sense when Argyle have the ball as well. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we want, a positive outcome this evening. You are watching Argyle TV's pre-match show with HBH Woolacotts, if you didn't know already. We are building up to Argyle's trip away to Bristol City later on this evening, but there is plenty more to come after this.
There's nothing like the start to a new season. The energy, the anticipation, the expectation. You know that buzz in the air. You can feel it. It's going to be our year. It's going to be different this time. It needs to be, for all of us. The emotions of the game get to us all. I know all about that. But whether out on the pitch, in the stands, or on the sidelines, we've all got to do better at all levels. No more surrounding refs, no more abuse. No more intimidation, no more discrimination. Leave the pitch to the players. And those offensive chants, you know the ones. There's never a place for them in the game we love. That beautiful feeling at the start of a new season. Don't ruin it. Let's keep it that way, together. Whether you win, lose or draw, let's make sure that this season is different. We all do it for the love of the game. Let's show our pride and passion in the right way. We all love football, so let's protect the game.
Nice to see lots of you getting involved in the YouTube comments as well, and me and Ian will have a look at some of your comments shortly. One, I just want to raise asking if the match will be available live on YouTube. No, but you can watch it live over on pafc.co.uk. So if you were wondering, head over to the website. You can find some more information about that. Let's jump inside the Argyle camp now then and hear from manager Stephen Schumacher. He's hoping to see his side convert performances into results tonight.
Should be a good game, especially with selling out our away allocation. It's brilliant for us to do that. As I say, it's a quick turnaround from the Preston game to be ready physically and prepared to go into another huge, tough championship fixture. So looking forward to it. Should be a good night at a great stadium. So hopefully we can play as well as we did on Saturday.
We'll touch on the quick turnaround thing in a moment, but just on the fans, so you mentioned them, and we spoke after the game at Preston about the amount that are travelling across the 2 away games. Yes, this is our closest away game, but to sell out a week in advance, to have the best part of 6,000 fans at the 2 away games is absolutely amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I say I can't thank them enough for the support once again. And also I think that the way that we're playing, the way that the team are playing, the football that we're playing. I think everyone's enjoying coming to watch us. The amount of phone calls and text messages of people who went to the game on Saturday, who praised how we played and said we probably should have took something from the game was mad. The amount of calls it took, but ultimately we know as a team as well that with this support that we're getting and with the way we're playing, we need to start getting more points as well, so we can enjoy the game and enjoy the experience, but come home with something to show for our efforts.
On the close proximity between the two games then, and them both being away from home and travelling and what have you, how much work can you put into the players ahead of tomorrow's game off the back of Saturday's game?
Well, not a lot really. We didn't get back till midnight on Saturday night, so the lads were off on Sunday. Some lads came in and done a little bit of recovery stuff that they needed to do, but the majority of the squad were off. So today was a session to get people back out on the grass and see where we're at physically. So it wasn't an awful lot of tactical information. People are still kind of tired from Saturday, so we'll go away now as the staff and this afternoon and make sure that we get our game plan right, and then speak to the players in the morning when we get to the team hotel about what the plan is. So you can't do an awful lot on the grass, but we're not going to change too much about what we do, and the players have got a good grasp of how we're playing. We'll just have to make sure that they're aware of Bristol City's strengths and weaknesses as well. Yeah,
I was just about to pick up on the point. There's not a lot wrong, really, is there, at the minute? So there's not a lot to have to rip up and change and drum into the players in terms of the way that we want to play.
No, we don't have to rip anything up, no, but we're also aware that we need to get better in certain moments of the game. But there's instances where we can look after the ball better in our own half, be a bit more secure on it if we can, because as we found out, if we don't, you give the ball away, then quality teams can hurt you. And also when we get to the attacking half of the pitch in the top end in the 18-yard box, we need to tighten up a little bit as well, because some of the areas that we're getting into, we're not getting enough from our opportunities. So we want to get into these areas, continue to cause teams problems, but also execute the chances that we're getting.
Just a quick one on Bristol City. A couple of points ahead of where we are, but similar-ish sort of starts. How do you see them?
I think they're a really well organised, obviously well coached, established, experienced championship team. I think over the years they've got better. We know it's going to be a tough game. They're always strong. They're always there and thereabouts in the division, and we know it'll be a hard game. We've played them a few times in pre-season over the years. I know again that the quality players that they've got, they haven't had loads of a massive turnaround in squad. So if we know it's going to be a hard game. So, but also I think like all the other games, when we go to Birmingham, Watford, Preston, we can go there with confidence and thinking that if we play the way we play, then we can cause them one or two problems. So that'll be the message to the lads: keep believing in what we're doing, and just try and get better on the small details where we can.
What is the key then to converting chances, Ian?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it, Erin? Here we go. I think the strikers and forward players in particular, when you get that confidence from having scored, it's that not thinking about things too much. So when you get into those areas, it's executing a technique that they've done thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of times before in training. And in other matches, it's executing that in a way that without thinking about it too much, so that you disrupt that technique. So for Ryan Hardy at the moment, I think what we've seen from his plays, when he goes into those situations, his touch is good, he's setting himself nicely, and he's taking those chances, making it look so easy. And that's what comes from someone being kind of in the flow of their finishing. So for others, I think it's focusing on hitting the ball cleanly, sometimes taking the ball early and keep catching defenders and goalkeepers off guard, I think can be helpful. But yeah, ultimately I think it's that confidence in their ability to execute a technique that they know they can do, and it's just translating that into a match situation. Yeah,
because I think sometimes when you watch Argyle play, there does at times seem to be a bit of a hesitant energy, especially when it comes to finishing, that I think a lot of the fans pick up on. I mean, you'll be familiar when someone's got the ball and you hear that noise around the stadium, everyone telling you to shoot. Do you and like you said, when that doesn't happen and you see like Ryan Hardy, for example, completely in control of the ball and it's almost like clockwork, you never even think that he would think to hesitate at previous times. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as a striker, when you're playing well and you're scoring, someone asks you to explain what you're doing. I don't think you can explain it. You can't kind of verbalise it and put into words what it is. It's just that that technique that's well practiced, that you've practiced all your career. So when it comes to those situations, again, I think it comes back to that, not thinking about it too much, focusing on that clean strike of the ball. But having been there, on runs where you haven't scored for a while, or you've got a chance where you do have time to think about it, that those can sometimes be the times where I think doubt can set in. Footballers, they're affected by those kind of psychological challenges as much as anyone else. So yeah, I think hopefully tonight we'll see those players coming into the side show that confidence, get on the front foot, be really positive, and Argyle can hopefully benefit from that.
Yeah, we know there's a lot of changes this evening. We've got one comment on our YouTube feed from Chuffed Online Art saying, "I'm not sure that this lineup will get us a result. We need to get at least a point. No more playing well, only to lose 2-1. In that vein, do you think it's better to have a worse performance and win? Because we've seen Argyle with great performances walking away with a loss. I think maybe it's fair to say people would rather see Argyle perform not as well as they have been doing and walk away with those 3 points. Absolutely,
and as an ex-player and having heard Stephen Schumacher talk about this, I think quite a few times last season, there were times where perhaps they weren't at the races, didn't put that passing philosophy into practice, and yet came away with a win. That's ultimately why they were able to win the championship and get promoted. So yes, they need to find a way in this league to win when they're not at their best, but also to make sure that they can maybe translate some of those scorelines at the moment where they're just the odd goal the wrong side of into a draw where they can continuously pick up those points across the season, and that can make the difference between a really healthy league position and having some trouble.
Yeah. Do you think at present Argyle are maybe being slightly too open in the way they play, and that opposition are able to capitalise on those little mistakes and turn them around very quickly, and like we saw at Preston, get that goal from very few opportunities?
I think they obviously have capitalised on those mistakes, and that's something that, as we talked about, we've got to expect, I think, at this level. But from Argyle's perspective, on another day, the chances that they created were more than enough to win the game. So, from the manager's perspective, yes, clearly he's explained how he's disappointed. He's not happy to play well and lose. But having said that, you'd rather play well and lose than play badly and lose.
Yes.
And lose badly.
Yes.
So, when you put it like that, I think the positives that you can take from the weekend's game, he can be really confident that the team have been playing well. They've been playing in the style that they want to. So it's not about wholesale changes. It's not about a whole different tactical approach. It's about, as he said, I think, being more decisive in those key moments, perhaps tightening up in moments of transition and getting back into position quicker. Those are the sorts of things that they can affect that could make the difference.
Yeah, and we have another comment here from Tyler Colton saying, nervous about these team changes. It will be a true test whether we have competent backups available in the case of injuries. Do you think Stephen Schumacher's looking at it in the sense of having backups, or just having, the kind of breadth in the squad that can deliver regardless, and no one is in particular like the chosen one, as it were? Yeah,
I think that, again, harking back to last season, there were times where we didn't necessarily know what the best team was. I think particularly in terms of some of the decision making around who was playing in forward areas, there was quite a lot of variation, quite a lot of rotation. So to get back into that kind of position where those players who so far this season, and we're only 6 games into the league, it's early days, those players that have been on the fringes can demonstrate that they're capable of coming in, stepping in, and doing what's required and helping Argyle get results. There's no way that they've picked this team tonight to think, oh well, it's just another game, let's just lose it and get on to Saturday.
Yes.
They've picked this team because they think that's the best way for them to get the result tonight. There's no two ways about that. So, we may see a slightly different approach tactically. We might see some slightly different tweaks positionally, but the players that have been named do fit into the system that they've used so far this season. So again, I think it's down to those individuals. The manager, coaching staff can only do so much. They put the team out there, and it's down to those individuals to really grasp the opportunity and make the most of it.
Yeah, and hopefully makes for another slightly different but equally as exciting game of football. Captain Joe Edwards actually began his footballing career at Bristol City, and he still has a lot of links to the club. He sat down with Charlie Price from Argyle TV earlier to talk about his return to Ashton Gate.
Spent probably 10, 11 years there as a whole way through the youth team and into the first team, and made a handful of appearances. So I'm looking forward to it. My family and friends will all be there, and I said it'd be a nice game to go back to, new stadium, and everything looks great there, so it'll be good.
Yeah, it was a completely different stage of your career, I suppose, when you were there. But what do you remember from that time?
Yeah, no, I've got a lot of happy memories there. Like I said, I spent all my youth team days there, and I said a lot of my early career there. It didn't work out in terms of playing and carrying on there for whatever reason, and like I said, I've moved on and played all over really. But yeah, looking back, like I said, I've got fond memories there, and a lot of friends still part of the club.
Got a quiz question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see whether you know actually all of it. So there's a couple of quiz questions. How many times have you played Bristol City since leaving?
It's either one or two.
Yeah.
I know I've played there once, but I don't remember playing in the reserve, the reverse fixture.
Yeah, so I've got one.
I think it is one.
So, go on then.
It was Yeovil v them on something like Boxing Day, around Boxing Day, yeah. I do remember that, 'cause that was my first time back, obviously, from leaving, so that was my first time back, so I remember that. We lost 2-1, 3-1?
2-1.
2-1, yeah.
Captain that day as well.
I was, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was very good you passed.
Yeah, well, no, I wasn't sure it was one or two, but I knew I played in that game. So, yeah.
So it's, that's quite a long time ago.
That was
to have not played back there since as well.
Yeah, and it's been, like I said, it's gone on again, the stadium. I said I've been back there to watch a few games and bits and bobs, but I said it'll be the first time back in many years.
On us, it is a sold-out away end. It has been. It's a Tuesday night. I think 3,000 tickets have been sold. It is our shortest trip, so and that might help. But that it will feel like a big occasion. Argyle, Bristol City always kind of has done, but this one especially.
It is, yeah. It's a big game. I think, like I said, being at Bristol City when I was younger, we often played here in the reserves, and I said there was always that rivalry between the two sides, and like I said, it is for both teams in close proximity. For Argyle, like I said, it's miles away, but it is a massive game. Like I said, now we're in the same level and we're competing at the same stage, and it's even bigger now. And like I said, we're really looking forward to it, and you can tell 3,000 looking forward to it as well. And so just hearing that and having them there is brilliant for us, and gives us that extra motivation to go and do what we need to do. And like I said, it'll be probably a full house, enough for them boys as well. And so we're going there confidence and looking to do well.
Captain Joe Edwards there speaking before tonight's game against his old side, Bristol City. What does he bring to the squad, Ian? Because he didn't play on Saturday. Presumably he's missed. He's the captain. He must bring a lot to the squad.
Yeah, I think more generally around the club and around kind of training, travelling, he's someone who really understands, I think, the club. We talk about players that come through the academy. They understand Plymouth and area. I think Joe Edwards has clearly been involved, right across Stephen Schumacher's time at the club. Really important in terms of the kind of approach, the values, the behaviours that they want from players. And I think it's really important when you have new players come into a squad. So it's natural, obviously, as teams go up divisions, that there's some turnover in the squad. Players who've been brilliant servants of the club leave, and new players come in. And I think the continuity from some of them to let those new players know, this is how we behave around here. This is what we do. Aside from his ability on the pitch and aside from his, his leadership on the pitch, just that, the knowledge that you've got someone there who's a player. But he's also, able to put across the messages that the management staff will want. So vital, and I think still has plenty to offer Argyle in terms of footballing ability as well.
Yeah, and tonight defensively, how do Argyle go about stopping the big chances against them? We had Aaron in here on Saturday who did some post-show analysis talking about how Preston were really key at putting bodies in the box. something which Argyle, weren't doing as much. Is that kind of one of the elements that you think that Argyle needs to be looking at tonight? Yeah, definitely. I mean, the first goal comes from a cross, so clearly one thing is going to be, can they stop those crosses coming in as the first instance, stop the supply line? I do think the moments of transition are really important. I think we mentioned earlier, Argyle in possession, fantastic, but they need to make sure that when the ball is lost, because at some point you're going to give the ball away, that you have that insurance policy, you have the players that understand, right, this is where I need to recover to, this is how quick I need to get back in, and it's making sure that, in those transition moments that the players are, at the highest intensity possible to snuff out those chances. And I think, we've got Dan Scar at the back there tonight. Lewis Gibson's done really well so far this season, and, Hazard in terms of his developing presence as a goalkeeper, I think that's what you'll look to tonight in terms of organising those other players, making sure that communication and direction is there, and that really can be key to closing those gaps. Sometimes, a good bit of play, particularly, at Championship level, that quality that those forward players have, sometimes there's something happen, you can't do anything about it. But Argyle have got to make sure that if Bristol City are going to score tonight, they're made to work for it, and that it has to be that individual moment of brilliance, or some piece of bad luck, and fingers crossed tonight Argyle won't be on the wrong end of that. Yes, yeah, because if it is a piece of brilliance, you can't really argue with it. It just kind of adds to the night of football, doesn't it? And we are now 20 minutes away from our evening of football. A reminder that if you are not at Ashton Gate today, then you can watch the game wherever you are in the world, home or away, all over on Argyle TV. Match passes will cost you £10, and you can find out all the details on the website.
The away day. A shared passion and commitment. 12,000 miles across the season. Unforgettable memories. Past players, the goals. Waiting players, supporters, young and old. Capturing the moment, living the dream. Green Army, belting out the Janusol. The stands, the shirts, the drum beats. The surging crowd moving as a giant wave. Crusaders, one and all. The Green Army.
And you are watching Argyle TV's pre-match show with HBH Woolacotts and Ian Stonebridge, of course. It's the Greens' shortest trip away of the season tonight, just a couple of hours up the M5 to Bristol City. The home side are just 2 points better off than Argyle, and they drew 0-0 at home to West Brom on Saturday. Here are the best bits of that game.
Wells gets down to the byline, cuts back into the box. Wells shoots. Oh, not far away at all there.
Got a winning sack.
Thomas Asante tries to get there, but Zach Viner, superb sliding tackle. Good turn there from Wells. Sykes whips it in, looking for Wells. Might fall to Bell, doesn't quite. Alex Palmer, Campring puts his left boot all the way through that one. He's possibly got too much on it, although Palmer's made a mess of that. And here's a chance for City. Oh, it's off the post. Mark Sykes, quick thinking, took it first time. Goals at the moment for City. It was unlucky. Here's a chance though for Thomas Asante. West Brom have broken through here. Thomas Asante bearing down on goal. That's an excellent tackle. Zach Viner tracking back, tracked his man all the way. Pring drives forward, nice ball, finds Sam Bell. Good run in behind from Bell. Bell whips it in. Arriving is Sykes with the header and tipped over the bar. Madger, nice dummy, looking for the 1-2. And he will get the ball back here. Josh Madger shooting chance. Good block in there from Zach Viner. Once again, good play from West Brom on that far side. That's a lovely run from Josh Madger into the box. Madger squares across to Townsend. Oh, and he just didn't connect with it whatsoever. And that runs harmlessly out. It's a nice ball in, and it's gone all the way through. And here's this moment for Harry Cornick, not quite. That's an excellent save from Alex Palmer. The corner flag needs a bit of assistance. He's done well, and that strike just over the bar. Well, it came out of nothing really. It's a good touch there from Sarmiento though. Sarmiento finds Josh Madger, and that's an excellent tackle. Superb last-ditch defending there from Cal Naismith.
Ian, they are yet to win at home this season. We're yet to win away. We have a bit of a stalemate this evening, don't we?
We do, yeah. Hopefully that record gives in Argyle's favour tonight. But yeah, I think the expectation will certainly be building for Bristol City, particularly being at home. You know, they're a well-established club at this level. You know, transfer dealings, significant amounts of money being received and spent, and so, you know, rightfully so, the fans will have that expectation.
And of course the expectation will be on them slightly, with them being the home side. What is the mentality around, you know, away and home games in that regard?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I certainly played in teams, you know, the Argyle team when we got promoted from Division 3 as it was then, we had two completely different systems away from home, so completely different formations, completely different tactical approaches. I don't think we have necessarily seen that too often from Argyle. So, you know, my expectation is they'll still go out tonight looking to keep possession, looking to, you know, create chances in the way they did at Preston, but perhaps just tighten up in those areas that we've discussed so far. So I do think the pressure is on Bristol City, and hopefully Argyle can kind of turn that in their favour by putting them under pressure early in the game, hopefully getting on the score sheet and you know, making it a difficult night for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we get closer to kick-off once again, just 15 minutes now, let's reacquaint ourselves with the sides playing this evening, starting with your Argyle lineup. They are as follows: Hazard, Scar, Gibson, Kesler-Hayden, Edwards, Seawright, Warrington, Randall, Cundall, T-Wright and Wayne. And on our bench this evening, Burton, Gillespie, Mumba, Houghton, Butcher, Azaz, Hardy, Whittaker and Bundu. How likely, Ian, do you think it is that we may see a debut from Mustafa Bundu there?
Yeah, it's obviously a possibility. You never know, depending on how the game goes, depending on you know, the fitness of those players that were involved at the weekend. So, you know, if Ryan Hardy is genuinely being rested and you know, absolutely needs a rest, you know, if something happens in the game and it means we need another forward player on there, you know, it's highly likely. You know, again, I don't expect them to name someone on the bench if they're not ready to get on the pitch. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of Argyle fans, you know, excited at the prospect of seeing him in green for the first time. Yeah,
absolutely. It'd be good to see our newest signing out on the pitch there. Let's have a look at the Bristol City team as well then. This is who we are going up against tonight. Their starting lineup consists of O'Leary, Pring, Naismith, Tanner, Viner, James, Williams, Knight, Sykes, Bell and Wells. And on their bench, Bayich, Dickey, Gardner-Hickman, Roberts, King, Mametti, Cornick, Yeboah and Nelson. Ian, looking at that, where do you think the threats are going to come from for Argyle?
Yeah, we've obviously highlighted Wells in terms of you know, not quite getting into his rich vein of goal scoring so far this season, and Sam Bell as well. I think, you know, those are two players that have the potential to offer a threat to Argyle tonight. You know, we talked about all the changes that Argyle have made, and, you know, hopefully that doesn't cause too much disruption in terms of their organisation. You know, there's also a chance tonight, particularly you know, again in that midfield area. So Adam Randall coming back in, who we've not mentioned so far. Lewis Warrington, you know, getting, I think, his first start in the Championship this season, and Luke Cundall, who's shown his quality in games so far. So, you know, something that we haven't touched on so far is that chance for that midfield trio to really impose themselves on the game in terms of possession and offer that forward threat as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a couple of first league starts tonight, which is, you know, really exciting to see. And we will have a little bit more in a second. Don't go anywhere. Argyle TV is brought to you by HBH Woolcots this season, and after this we'll be finishing off the build-up before handing over to commentary, so make sure you stay with us.
Let's get it poppin', I'm looking away. Go tell mother I'm cooking the game. Flow like water bubbling up where you want me to make. Taking you back in the day, feeling immaculate, mate. Action packed back to back while you yapping away. I got a knack to react, but I'm packing a grace. Up to the max with a fact, let me grab the space. I had a map the place, you got a laughing face. Long and strong, looking like a stack full of hate. It goes on and on, way to the back of the bank. This phenomenon's on, I don't even have to say. I'm where I belong, this not back in the, you know. I go where I wanna, a fair warning for anybody with hair on them. You can't stop me, it gets sloppy to...
Keeping an eye on some of the comments coming in this evening. I've got to mention this one to you, Ian, from David Curtis, saying, sat here in Spain, Ginster pasty and a can of tribute in hand, just waiting for the game to start. He's very much looking forward to it. Ian, how much are you looking forward to this game? Do you think Argyle are going to deliver this evening?
Yeah, really excited, and all of those changes, you can see them as disruptive or disappointed that you're seeing some of the players that have done so well so far not in the starting 11, but I think it's exciting to see those players that haven't had the chance so far. What can they do? What can they offer? It's their chance to really make themselves known, make themselves heroes in this this season is a local derby, really.
And we've seen Argyle build up a little bit in the previous games, a slight losing, I don't want to say streak because it wasn't loads, but a little bit, a form of a couple of losses. How important will it be for them not to lose again tonight and kind of rebuild that mindset?
Yeah, I think you don't want to get into a run of games where it becomes away games and we've not run won or got a point for a certain amount of games.
Yes.
They'll certainly not want to get beaten tonight. So at the very least, can we get a draw? But I think again, it's a positive lineup, it's a positive system and philosophy that Argyle always play with. So why can't we go there and win? As you said, Bristol City haven't been fantastic so far at home. So let's take the game to them and see what happens. Yeah,
because surely they'll be feeling a certain amount of pressure as well, wanting to deliver that home win for their fans. They will have seen how Argyle have been over this season. It's not been a terrible start, and Argyle have been playing really well despite the outcome. So they must feel like there's certainly a little bit of a threat coming to visit them this evening.
Definitely, there's no doubt there's more pressure on Bristol City in terms of expectation tonight than Argyle, but we know that the Green Army and Stephen Schumacher and the players will put that pressure on themselves. They want to get a good result. They want to start moving up the table, and so 3 points tonight would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
What do you want to see in terms of whether it be like their style of play? I mean, we spoke about not necessarily having the best game, but just having the win. What do you want to see out of this evening?
Yeah, I think the style of play, I don't expect it to change, and I think that's been a big part of Argyle's success in recent seasons, is that passing philosophy, that willingness to take the ball and be brave. So it's those moments when we get into their box, can a player make the difference? Can they show that extra little bit of quality that's needed to win games at this level? That's really what we're after. So it's not anything different. It's not something drastically changed from what we've seen from Argyle, but it's just that maybe that extra bit of quality at those really important times that can make the difference.
And I think I suppose depending on how Argyle go out, hopefully we won't see another early goal like we saw on Saturday. It's going to make all the difference in terms of what players we see from Stephen Schumacher tonight, because some people have mentioned the names in the starting lineup, maybe not the Argyle first choice in squad, for example, but if they go out and deliver, there may not be a need to see Ryan Hardy come on, will there?
I think Stephen Schumacher would be absolutely delighted if Argyle had a comfortable evening and he was able to leave some of those players, particularly Ryan Hardy, perhaps on the bench tonight. Having said that, if we get to an hour gone and it's still a tight game, we know that looking at that subs bench for Argyle, it's really, really strong and offers lots and lots of options in terms of the potential to change the game, and Bristol City will be looking at that thinking, they won't want to see that. So if Argyle can stay in this game and do even better than that, it has a chance to be a really positive evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's take a look at some of the other games that are being played tonight all around the Championship. Of course, at the top there, Bristol versus Argyle. Preston North End take on Birmingham City. Southampton play Ipswich. Cardiff against Coventry. Queen's Park Rangers against Swansea City. And Sheffield Wednesday play Middlesbrough. And I believe there's a couple more, but I don't want to jump the gun and start making guesses.
I think that's
Is
all the
that
games
it?
tonight. Yeah,
those are all the games tonight. Oh well, Sheffield Wednesday, Middlesbrough both looking for their first wins. Sheffield Wednesday and Middlesbrough, so that's going to be an interesting development as well. Hopefully, Argyle will be joining them on the winning streak this evening. With those games then on the screen for you, that kind of concludes everything that we have on Argyle TV this evening. Of course, other than the game itself, which is coming up next, so don't go anywhere. If you do want to watch that, make sure you go over to the website. Ian, thank you very much for being with us this evening. We'll of course be back to do a bit of the after show, which you can also catch on Argyle TV at a later date. We've got just enough time to remind you of the details of the match for this evening, if you haven't got your match pass already. So head over to the website pafc.co.uk and all the information for tonight's game will be there for you. Charlie Price and former Argyle forward Ryan Brunt are standing by to bring you the commentary on that tonight. and the pass, incidentally, will cost you £10, and you can buy it whether you are here in the UK or elsewhere in the world as well. Right, all that remains to be seen is that can Argyle get their first away win of the season over there at Bristol City, the closest away ground. It would be very nice to see, but you'll just have to wait and find out, because it's Argyle versus Bristol City up next.
There's nothing like the start to a new season. The energy, the anticipation, the expectation. You know that buzz in the air. You can feel it. It's going to be our year. It's going to be different this time. It needs to be, for all of us. The emotions of the game get to us all. I know all about that. But whether out on the pitch, in the stands, or on the sidelines, we've all got to do better at all levels. No more surrounding refs, no more abuse, no more intimidation, no more discrimination. Leave the pitch to the players. And those offensive chants, you know the ones. There's never a place for them in the game we love. That beautiful feeling at the start of a new season. Don't ruin it. Let's keep it that way, together. Whether you win, lose or draw, let's make sure that this season is different. We all do it for the love of the game. Let's show our pride and passion in the right way. We all love football, so let's protect the game.
The away day. A shared passion and commitment. 12,000 miles across the season. Unforgettable memories. Past players, the goals. Waiting players, supporters, young and old. Capturing the moment, living the dream. Green Army, belting out the genocide. The stands, the shirts, the drum beats, the surging crowd moving as a giant wave. Crusaders, one and all. The Green Army.
Thanks for tuning in. Your matchday commentary show will start soon. Please stay tuned.